Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Lisa Batchelor. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Major General Lee Yi Jin, Chief of Digital and Intelligence Service, Singapore Armed Forces, accompanied by Lieutenant General Gavin Reynolds, Chief of Defence Intelligence. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association, and we welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Christadelphian Heritage College from Kemps Creek, New South Wales. Now, if you're able, could I ask you to stand, please, and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read just one of the stories behind those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Edward John Rand. Edward Rand was born on the 3rd of March 1914 in the Melbourne suburb of St Kilda. Known as Ted, he was the eldest of 5 children born to local stock agent and grazier Dudley Rand and his wife Mary. When Ted was young, his family relocated to the Riverina region of New South Wales, settling in the town of Cootamundra. Ted received his education at the intermediate high school and later organised the school's cricket team. His love of sports continued as he moved to the nearby town of Young, where he played tennis and cricket. He later went on to become a member of the Young Show Association Committee before going into business as a stock and station agent and auctioneer. Ted Rand enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 20th of March 1940. He entered camp at Ingleburn and joined the 2nd 17th Battalion. He commenced training there and was appointed acting corporal in June of 1940. In early July, he became sick, suffering from a respiratory illness which saw him spend almost a week in the camp dressing station to recover. Afterwards, he continued training in camp before embarking from Sydney on the 19th of October 1940. Rand arrived in the Middle East in late November and was promoted to Lance Sergeant soon after. In February of 1941, he developed an abscess on his tonsils and was sent to the 1st Australian General Hospital at Gaza to recover. Rand rejoined his unit 2 weeks later at Tobruk, where it was besieged by German and Italian forces. He remained until the 20th of September, when he was sent to Palestine to undertake further specialist training. He was promoted to acting sergeant before being sent to infantry school in November. He took part in a 1-month weapons course before rejoining his unit near Gaza in December. In early 1942, the 2nd 17th undertook further training in Lebanon and Syria, and Rand's rank of sergeant was made substantive. During this time, the Axis forces had pressed forward into Egypt, reaching the small railway station of El Alamein, dangerously close to Cairo, and jeopardising the security of the Suez Canal. In October, Rand's unit fought at El Alamein as part of the Allied attempt to push the enemy back. Over several days, Allied units fought to secure their objectives in hot, barren and coverless terrain, but failed to achieve a breakthrough. By late October, Rand's unit had reached an area of the front known as Trig 29 and was at the edge of an extensive enemy minefield laced with booby traps. At dawn on the 28th of October, the enemy attacked. Rand was manning a machine gun post when he was badly wounded by the blast from an enemy mortar. As stretcher bearers with a white flag carried him away, Ted waved to a comrade. The rear stretcher bearer was seen to shake his head at Ted's comrade, indicating that the situation was not good. 3 days later, Ted Rand succumbed to his wounds and died at a dressing station behind the lines. The Allies eventually succeeded in driving back the Axis forces, but not without huge cost. The 9th Division suffered almost 6,000 casualties. Sergeant Ted Rand was buried at El Alamein War Cemetery, beneath the inscription chosen by his grieving family, "His duty nobly done." He was 28 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Edward John Rand, who gave his life for us for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. Wish you all a very pleasant evening.